Well, hello. Good afternoon. Alejandro Tornato here, and I am so happy to be once again connecting with you. Um, if you saw my earlier video, just the quick reminder, then if you could join us, then you can do it right now. It is 5 or just a few minutes, 5:04 on this Saturday, August 17th of 2019, and it's a beautiful day here in the Atlanta area. And if you saw that little video, I told you that I was going to share with you a story. It's a quick story, but a very simple story, but it has great depth. And if we really could mind all the lessons from this story, we could be here for a little while. And I don't intend to keep you for a very long time. And but this is a story I came across to it, and I heard it, and it really impacted me. It really touched me because of the message. And the story is called The Beggar and the Treasure. The Beggar and the Treasure. Now, I want to tell you a story about a beggar today. Now, this beggar sat on the road for more than 30 years begging for pennies. A beggar who sat on the road for 30 years. Now, it's not just a day or a week or a month or one single year, but it was 30 years sat there begging for pennies. Now, one day, a man passed by the beggar. "Spare some change?" asked the beggar. The man replied, "I have nothing to give you, but what is this thing that you're sitting on?" And the beggar said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just nothing. It's an old box. It's an old box that I've been sitting on for a very long time." "Have you tried ever to open it and see what's inside?" the man asked. Just a simple question. The beggar replied, "Of course not. There is nothing inside. It is empty." The man insisted the beggar look inside. And to his surprise, he discovered an abundance of gold and treasure. You see, the beggar had lived almost his entire life begging for pennies, begging for scraps, while he sat on a fortune of treasure. Now, that's the end of the story. I mean, it is nothing earth-shattering. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not quantum mechanics or higher mathematics. But it is a very simple story with a quantum message, a profound message that we can dive into it, and we can really get all the gold out of it. So you see, what's the lesson in this story? And the lesson is very simple. There are many, 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 and many people in this world who really look for treasure and fortune outside. Where they should have been looking, and they should be looking for treasure and for fortune within them. You see, treasure and fortune is really not outside of us. It is within us. And it is what we do with that fortune, what we do with that treasure that really makes a difference. I love to listen to Les Brown. I mean, Les Brown is one of my favorite um, motivational speakers. I love the way that the passion that he has, I mean, for uh, bringing a message to life. I mean, I love the way that he shared stories. But one thing that I particularly love about Les Brown is that um, almost 100% of the time he ends his talk by saying and by reminding people not of an opinion, not of an idea, not of something abstract, but he reminds people of a fact, a true fact. And the fact is this. He says, remember, there is greatness within you. And there is. I mean, there is greatness within you. There is greatness within me. There is greatness within every single human being that inhabits this planet. There is greatness. Now, one thing is to say that fact and that truth that there is greatness within you, and the other thing is people believing that there is greatness within them, as opposed to, because most people, they believe that there is greatness outside. I mean, there's gold and there's treasures and there's material possessions outside of them, but they never looked inside and really find the true potential and the true greatness that resides inside of them. You see, when you're searching outside yourself, when you are begging life to give you things that are within your reach, you'll never experience the fullness of life, of the life that you deserve. All of life's treasures are within. They are not without you. They're not outside of you. Don't go through life begging for pennies when you have unlimited gold and unlimited potential within you. Believe in yourself. Get up and start taking action. Get up and go for gold. This story reminds me now of another story in another book, a great book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And it's the story of Mr. Darby. Mr. Darby, who during the gold rush days here in the United States, I mean, he went, I guess, to Colorado, I mean, to start mining for gold because, I mean, he wanted to get rich. I mean, Napoleon Hill says, I mean, he wanted to go and dig to get rich. Not think and get rich and grow rich, but dig and grow rich. And so Darby went. And he went with a pick and a shovel, and so he started laboring very hard, and he found gold, and he extracted one card of gold, and he extracted another card of gold, and another, and another, and all of a sudden, the vein, the mine just went dry. Couldn't find gold anywhere. And so after trying and getting disappointed and frustrated, what Mr. Darby do? He quit. Isn't that the simplest thing that we can do? I mean, when we are faced with obstacles, when we are faced with a challenge, when we are faced with difficulty, what do most people do? They just give up. They quit. And what happens with Mr. Darby? I mean, he did exactly that. And so he sold, I mean, the equipment that he had invested into to dig for that gold. I mean, he sold all that to a junk man, to a junk man. But this was not an ordinary junk man. I guess he was a thinking junk man. And what this man did was he went and asked an engineer or an expert, I mean, to help him and see, I mean, well, let's see, I mean, if this was really dried, or if there's more gold in here. And so when the engineer did his calculations, he found that the vein continued, but it continued just a mere 3 feet from where Mr. Darby had finished digging. Just 3 feet. So that means that Mr. Darby quit his enterprise, his dream of digging for gold and becoming rich, and because of not persevering for another 3 feet, then he quit, and the whole dream ended. But this other man picked up the vein, and he became a millionaire digging gold out of that mine. So you see, the lesson first is this: there's gold within you. Before you can find gold outside, start and look for the gold that is already within you, inside of you. And one of the things that is very important is that determination to be creative, to be inquisitive. You see, in the story with the beggar sat on that chest or on that box for 30 years. And it never occurred to him to open the box and see, okay, I mean, what am I going to lose? If it's empty, it is empty. But what happens if it wasn't empty and there was something inside? He did not know whether there was something of value inside. But we never know where the value is if we first do not take the action to actually go and search and open the box, or keep digging another additional 3 feet to find out what happened. You see, most people give up. Most people throw up their hands up in the air. Most people quit without even making that attempt to see, if they could find the treasure. And that's what the beggar did for 30 years, until a man insisted that he would open the box. And when he did, then his situation changed. So sometimes we need to listen to an outside voice. Whether it be the voice of divine mind, the voice of infinite intelligence, the voice of somebody, a mentor, the voice of a coach. Now, I caution you, do not listen sometimes to the voice of the so-called experts out there. They want to tell you this or that, or do this, or get rich quick, or find it. No. Listen, as Paul Martinelli would say, once you find a voice that resonates with you, once you find someone whose message is really not just sounds good, but it is a proven message. It is a factual message. It is a message of change, of real change and transformation, and it can really affect your life for good. Then listen to that message. And as Paul would say, listen to one voice. Once you find that voice, don't change that voice. Stick with that voice. Applied the concept of stickability. Stickability. Stick with that voice. And so, the last thing that I want to tell you is this. When you let go of the idea of your limited worth, you open up space for unlimited possibilities. And one more thing I want to share with you. I posted this quote a little while ago on my Facebook page by Albert Einstein. And it said, if you can see the invisible, you can accomplish the impossible. If you can see the invisible, you can accomplish the impossible. So thank you very much. Remember, there is greatness within you. And it's great to be connecting with all of you once again. And you have a great rest of the day and weekend. And as I always end, reminding you, be kind, be passionate, be well.